Picture this. You walk up to a cafe counter, you order your absolute favorite coffee, and the barista looks at you and says, "All right, that'll be either $2 or $5 randomly." You'd probably turn around and walk right out, right?
I mean, that would be a completely terrible business model. We rely on predictability in our daily lives. We expect that one specific item is going to have exactly one specific price. Well, in mathematics, we actually have a name for this kind of reliable, highly predictable relationship. We call it a function. So by the end of this explainer, you are going to completely understand the core concept of functions, the notation behind them, and exactly how to apply them across real examples. We are covering what is a function, decoding function notation, evaluating versus solving, working with data tables, passing the line test, and 6, review and next steps. Okay, let's jump right in. Section 1, what is a function? The predictable machine. All right, here is the absolute golden rule you need to commit to memory. A function is a mathematical relation where each possible input value, which we fancy up by calling it the domain, leads to exactly one output value, which we call the range. It's a remarkably strict rule. No single input value can ever lead to two different outputs. Remember that coffee shop scenario? One coffee, one price. That right there is a function. Let's make this super concrete with an example. Check out the grade report on the left. If you earn an 85% in a class, that percentage input gives you exactly one output, a 3.0 GPA. That's a perfect function. But now take a look at the right side. What if your input is the word odd, and the outputs are numbers? Well, the input odd could lead to a 1, a 3, and a 5. Because that one single input is throwing out multiple different outputs, boom, it breaks the rule. It is absolutely not a function. Now that we've got a solid grip on the basic idea, let's look at the formula. Section 2, decoding function notation, speaking the language. Okay, so a hugely common student confusion pops up right about here. You might be secretly asking yourself, hey, instead of this weird notation like f of x, couldn't we literally just use y? Why in the world do we use these specific, kind of intimidating letters? It is totally okay if it looks confusing at first glance. It's a fantastic question, and the answer is all about being ultra-specific. Think of the letter F as the action itself, or the machine. X is the raw material you're feeding into that machine, and Y is the final product that pops out at the end. So f of x tells us exactly which machine we're using and what specific raw material we are feeding it. And hey, wait, this is important. Inputs do not have to be numbers. Look at this real-life analogy. D equals f of m. Let's say f is a function that outputs the number of days in a month. So f of March equals 31. You input the word March, the rule processes it, and it outputs the number 31. Predictable, reliable, a perfect function. Let's connect this back to algebra. Section 3, evaluating versus solving. What's the difference? Because let me tell you, these two instructions are so easy to mix up on a test. When a question asks you to evaluate, you're essentially being handed the input and asked to find the output. You just plug it in. Step 1, you take your function. Let's say h of p equals p squared plus 2p. Step 2, substitute your input value. Let's evaluate it for an input of 4, so we're finding h of 4. Step 3, you calculate. 4 squared is 16, plus 2 times 4, which is 8. 16 plus 8 gives you 24. We knew the input, we cranked the handle, and we found our single output. Now, contrast that with solving. When you solve, you are given the output, and you have to work backward like a detective to find the input. Let's solve for h of p equals 3. We know the final output is 3, so we set our equation p squared plus 2p equal to 3. If we move that 3 over and factor it out, we get p plus 3 times p minus 1 equals 0, meaning our inputs could be 1 or negative 3. Notice that solving actually gave us more than one answer. 2 different inputs led to the exact same output. And guess what? That still perfectly follows the function rule. Okay, let's take a quick mental break and look at some genuinely fun real-world data. Section 4, working with data tables, the memory test. So let's bust a common myth right now. You've probably heard that a goldfish has a 3-second memory, right? Completely false. Look at this data table. A puppy's memory is about 30 seconds, which is 0.008 hours. A cat, 16 hours. But a goldfish, their memory actually spans months, up to 2,160 hours. Pretty incredible, right? Now, beyond just being a great piece of trivia for your next party, this table perfectly represents a mathematical function. Let's call the function p for pet. If I ask you to evaluate P of goldfish, you simply locate the input, goldfish, in the table, and read the single corresponding output, 2,160. One input, exactly one output.
And this brilliantly illustrates how we can transition from tables right into graphs. Let's look at section 5, passing the line tests. Visualizing functions. So, how can we tell if a curve on a graph is a function just by glancing at it? Well, we use this amazing visual shortcut called the vertical line test. Step 1, inspect the graph. Step 2, draw imaginary vertical, straight lines down through the curve. Step 3, if any of your vertical lines touch the curve more than once, it is not a function. Why? Because hitting that line twice literally means that one single x input just gave you two different y outputs. It breaks our golden rule. Take a look at this sideways S-shaped curve. If you drop a vertical line straight down the middle of it, it cuts through the top, the middle, and the bottom of that S. One vertical line, 3 intersections. It completely fails the test. Definitely not a function. Now, what if we want to be even stricter? Enter the one-to-one function. This is like an exclusive VIP club. Not only does every input have just one output, but every output corresponds to exactly one unique input. Think of a super strict grading system where absolutely no two students are allowed to get the exact same test score. To quickly verify if a graph is one-to-one, we just turn our line sideways. We call it the horizontal line test. If a flat, horizontal line hits your curve twice, it means two different inputs somehow produced the exact same output. So it might still be a regular function, sure, but it is not a one-to-one function. Okay, before we finish up, let's summarize the key points and bring this all together. Section 6, review and next steps. So here are the absolute crucial takeaways you need for your exam. First, functions are predictable. One input equals exactly one output. Second, notation like f of x is great because it separates the actual math rule from the result. Third, evaluating means finding the output, while solving means working backward to find the input. And finally, use that vertical line test on graphs to quickly visually check them. I'm going to leave you with a bit of a provocative thought here. If a function is a predictable machine, what do you think happens if you take the output of one machine and plug it directly into the input of a second, completely different machine? Well, we call those composite functions, and they unlock a whole new level of algebra. We're going to be explaining exactly how to build those machine chains in our next explainer, so you definitely want to join us for that one. Keep practicing, stay curious, and I'll